So my name's Robin Wengert, and I really have no idea how to start this video. I've never done a video before, so this should be a really interesting experience for me, and hopefully it's an interesting experience for you. Chrysallis, former comedian and inspirational speaker, talks about how if we don't know how to start something, if we don't think that we know how to start something, we rarely ever do. And I don't want to be stuck in that trap anymore. So I have no idea how to produce a video, but I'm going to do it anyway, because at least if I start, then I'm in the place of creation, and I would like to be in that place of creation, in the moment, in the now, and talking from my heart. When Chrysallis comes out on stage doing his inspirational seminars, he doesn't have a script, he doesn't have a PowerPoint presentation, and he doesn't read from note cards, because he expresses that if he were to be doing that, he wouldn't be in the present moment talking to you from his heart. He wouldn't be in a place to co-create in that moment with you or with me, because he'd be back there thinking about the notes. They'd be created days, weeks, or even months ago, and invariably, if he's working from notes and from a PowerPoint presentation, it takes the act of creation out of the moment. So, taking that page from his notebook, that's how I'm coming to you. I don't have any notes, I don't have any PowerPoint presentation. I just want to talk to you about what I'm passionate about right here, right now, and hopefully making connection with you about that thing, those ideas, the things that I'm passionate about. And that thing that I'm passionate about is community, but not any kind of community, specifically intentional community. Now, if you've come across this and you're familiar with something with communities like Findhorn or Mondragon, then you already have some idea of the kinds of things that I'm going to be talking about. If you've never heard of those things, Google them. They're wonderful. I have been a dreamer most of my life. I've done a lot of building. I'm a carpenter and a builder by trade and by profession. And one of the things that I've come across in my life is this idea that if I'm surrounded by people who have similar interests and similar goals and create a sense of community, that my life is greatly enriched by them, by being in community with them. I also find that if we're sharing resources, that we can each have a much more fulfilling lifestyle, but not work as hard to get that. So, a foundation that I'm working on creating, called Chrysalis, is essentially just that. Chrysalis is a foundation, a company, that's whole mission is to create a safe place for profound change through the development of intentional community. So, obviously, we can't have a discourse over a video. I don't know where you work, what you do for a profession, what kind of jobs you've had in the past. But if you're anything like me or a lot of the people that I know, we've done all sorts of different things to make a living, to bring in money so that we can create and eke out this little niche that we start calling our lives. That we can have something that we can personalize and call our own, and secure our future. And most people in this nation believe that we do this independently, that through freedom and liberty and independence, we create our own lives and carve out our own niche. And while it is true, invariably, that we do self-actualize our own lives, independence is a little bit overblown. You look at the clothes that you wear, the food that you eat, the car that you drive, the fuel that gets into the car, whether it's electricity for an electric car or gasoline for a petroleum-based car, or the electricity that we get in our homes, or the products that we have or use, makeup, health and beauty aids, any of these things, computers, cell phones, videos, video cameras, the internet, none of those things are things that we provide for ourselves typically. My sister-in-law, she makes her own soap and makes her own salves and does master knitting and makes many of her own clothes, including socks and sweaters and so on and so forth, and does so for her friends and family as well. But she's not living independently. She relies on all sorts of goods and services provided by people in the community, in the state, in the nation, and in the world. So independence is this idea that we've taken in the United States to mean non-dependent. That's simply not true. So within an intentional community, we shed some of that ideology, and we realize that we rely on the people around us all the time to help us with our lives, to enrich our lives. We rely on somebody to take care of our children when we're at work. We rely on somebody oftentimes to educate our children because we may not have all of the experience or the time or the resources to do so. We rely on other people at times to make our food because we're in a rush. And so bringing these resources into an intentional community where we choose to do this is important. And it can provide us with so much overlap for our resources in our lives that I believe that by combining these resources and working together, we can enrich our lives and have more than we currently have right now living individually with a lot less work involved, giving us more time to really, truly enjoy the things that we're passionate about. So that is kind of my philosophy behind intentional community. Now, Chrysalis is kind of the culmination of some of that, and it puts it into a package which looks more like conventional living, but has the aspects of living within a community, a close-knit community, which provides all these extra services that we wouldn't normally get in a much more efficient and profound way. For instance, many people I know work in call centers or in factories. They go to work, they walk in the door, and they're there to do the job, collect a paycheck, and leave. There's no satisfaction in it, or very little. The satisfaction that they get is bringing home the money so that they can pay their bills and hopefully have the food that they need and do some of the things that they want as a hobby. But imagine walking into that door and knowing that you're valued, knowing that you contribute to a team, a dynamic team of individuals who put a product together or a service together and really make a difference. You know you're valued, and you know that every person on that team is also valued as much, and working together you can accomplish so much more than you can working independently. Now, that's not an uncommon theme in most corporations and most job settings. But now imagine on top of that, that instead of just being a member of a team, you're also a co-owner in the business. So you and everybody around you own an equal share in this business, and you're no longer making the money for the CEO or the owner or the investors. The money that's being made and the profit that's being brought in by the product or service that you're providing comes back into that same company to provide you with goods and services, better way of life, better pay, and you get the benefit of that work that you're putting in. How does that change your perception of what you do within the company if you're a co-owner and you're a valued member of a team alongside everybody else who is also a co-owner and a valued member of that same team? How would that change your perspective on it? Now, on top of that, imagine that this business is located on a campus, like a college campus or something that looks like a park. And instead of driving 20 or 30 or 40 minutes each way, each day, to get to this job, you're literally taking 2 minutes to walk across a park to show up at the front door of this business, which you're a co-owner in. And the place that you walk from, your home or condo, you actually own. And you own a piece of the land that all of this sits on. That the entire campus, that the house that you live in, that part of this business and part of this entire campus itself, you're a part owner in. Imagine how it would feel to feel like you are invested in this community in a very, very real way. Now also imagine that on this campus there are playgrounds and there's people working on permaculture for year-round organic food production that you directly benefit from because it's the food that gets produced for the residents of this campus, for the co-owners, the co-op itself. Imagine that there are people who take the time to groom all the grounds and landscape. So literally, you're not doing all of this for yourself. You're relying on the people around you to provide these services because they're also relying on the income coming in from the company that you're working for. It's all co-owned, it's all co-opted, and it's all working together to benefit you and your neighbor and the person doing the farming and the agriculture work and the landscaping and the facilities maintenance. You're all working together for that same community. Again, if you know anything about Findhorn or Mondragon, you should Google those and check them out a little, because that's basically the same sort of thing that I'm talking about. Imagine on top of that, that on these grounds, there's another building. And you could call it a community gathering building. You could call it a commons. And in that commons, maybe there's a bistro and a coffee shop. Maybe there's a salon. Maybe there's that's where the child care would take place for your children as you go to work. And maybe there's even an educational facility where people, where there's a much higher rate of instructors to children, so that you're getting the kind of education that you would out of a private school or homeschooling, or a combination of all of private, public, and homeschooling. And it's much more individualized for your children, so that they're getting a better education. Imagine that being 2 minutes away from where you work, walking across campus. So if there's an emergency, you're literally just a couple of minutes away. How would that change your lifestyle? Imagine that all of that goes into creating an economic model, both personally and communally, which gives you a better living than the average, gives you organic foods, gives you better education for your children, gives you a co-ownership in a company and a community. Imagine how that would change your life. Imagine how it would feel differently to have all of those things provided in one place. So when you went to work, you knew that you were working for your own interests, for your own investment, for your own future, and then all of the things that you did were also for the benefit of everybody around you, and vice versa, that everything that they're doing is also for your benefit. This is the idea behind Chrysalis, and this is the idea that I would like to start exploring in these videos with you. This is the idea that I would like to involve you in, because I can't develop this by myself. This is too large for me to do on my own. So I need your help. So think about what a truly intentional community would look like, that's co-opted, that you're a co-owner in. Think of all the possibilities that could come with having an investment structure from a corporation that, instead of went to CEOs and owners and investors, private investors, that would have instead reinvested in the community, in the people in the community, in the resources of the community, or even potentially the networking of multiple communities. This is Chrysalis, and this is what I would like to invite you to start exploring with me. Invite you to start creating with me. I hope I've piqued your interest, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future. Thank you.